Good evening and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom on the programme tonight. In scathing remarks against the government over the ethnic violence in Manipur, the Supreme Court said today that there's been an absolute breakdown of constitutional machinery in the state for the past 2 months. Terming the investigation tardy and lethargic, the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, who was heading the bench, said that there's been a delay in FIRs being registered and statements being recorded. The court has also demanded the personal presence of the Manipur Director General of Police during the next hearing on Monday. We'll be looking at what the Supreme Court has had to say, and as always, with our panelists, be looking at sensible solutions on the road ahead. Now, the Supreme Court's comments are likely to give further ammunition to the opposition as well. They've been demanding the removal of the Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh. Is this where India needs to be headed as far as Manipur is concerned? Next up on the show at about half past the hour, the ripples from yesterday's 18-hour communal clash in Haryana's No, which claimed 5 lives and left at least 70 people injured, has reached Badshahpur, 50 kilometers away. Shops and eateries were vandalized and torched by a mob this evening amidst religious chants. Eyewitnesses said that a mob of around 200 had entered the area around 3 p.m. armed with sticks and stones. They vandalized several shops, including several meat shops, and set fire to an eatery. No one was injured. Violence broke out during a religious procession yesterday in No, just 50 kilometers from Delhi, following what many say is an objectionable video that went viral. But let's focus first on the Manipur situation. What I'd like to do first, before bringing in Justice Madan Lokur, the former judge of the Supreme Court of India, is to go through a couple of key quotes of the Supreme Court, of the Chief Justice today. So let's just bring those up, important remarks, and then take a look at it. The Chief Justice said that there has been a breakdown of constitutional machinery in the state. Let's keep rolling. The Manipur police investigation is lethargic and tardy. The Supreme Court says the situation was not conducive for a period of 2 months. FIRs could not be registered on time. The victim statements could not be recorded. And thinking of constituting a committee of ex-judges. So let's leave it at that. Let's go across to Justice Lokur. Sir, by saying that the entire investigation process was lethargic and tardy, what exactly is the Supreme Court hinting at? Do you believe that these remarks are an indicator of a constitutional breakdown of law and order in the state of Manipur?
Well, thank you, Som. You see, as far as I know, at least that's what's been reported. The Honorable Chief Justice did say that there has been a breakdown of the constitutional machinery, right? Which means that law and order cannot be carried on in the state in the normal course as it would be under the Constitution of India. So that's a very strong statement, right? But apart from making a statement like this, or expressing views of this nature, there is very little that the Supreme Court can do to remedy the situation. In the sense that if there is a constitutional breakdown if there is a breakdown of the constitutional machinery, it is for the governor of the state to give a report to the president and say that, well, there is a breakdown of the constitutional machinery. So really, the Supreme Court can do very little in the matter. But I think the Supreme Court should, appoint some kind of an independent committee, right, to give a report to the Supreme Court about what has happened and what is happening in the state at the moment. I think that is absolutely imperative. So, you will recall that sometime in the first week of June, a committee or a commission was set up with a former Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court as the chairperson, right? Now, almost 2 months have gone by, maybe just a couple of days left for the 2 months to be over. But we don't know what has happened, So obviously things are not moving at the pace at which they should. So, under these circumstances, I think it is imperative for the Supreme Court to step forward and try and see what can be done. What is the best that can be done?
Sir, the Director General of Police of the state has been asked to appear in person. Is he not this is an officer who is accountable to the Constitution. Being present over the Supreme Court, which has established that FIRs have not been filed on time, does that not mean that the top man in the state is the person who is accountable?
Yes, he is. But also the Director General of Police is answerable to the Chief Minister of the state. Right? So where does the buck stop? Does it stop at the Director General of Police? Does it stop at the SHO of the police station where that rape occurred? Where does the buck stop? Does it stop at the Chief Minister? Right. So calling the Director General of Police is one step. But what next? He will come and say, well, everything is all right, or I'm in control. Things are not bad. They were bad at one point of time. Today, they're not bad. But then what? Okay, accept his statement and say, all right, we close the case. I don't think that can happen, because too much has happened in the last almost 3 months, to just forget about it.
So there are a couple of other remarks made by the Chief Justice. I'll just read them out, and then I'll get you to react to them, or just your thoughts on them. He questioned the delay in FIRs yesterday. He said an incident on the 4th of May, a zero FIR was filed on the 18th of May. What were the police doing for 14 days? There cannot be a justification. What stood in the way of registering an FIR? It took till the 21st of June to transfer a zero FIR to a concerned police station. Why did we have to wait for the video to go viral for arrests to be made? Out of around 6,000 FIRs, yesterday he wanted to know how many are crimes against women. And Manipur doesn't have facts on number of cases. That's now come in. But I think the larger point that he's making, why did a video have to emerge for justice to be sought? I think it's a stark statement. Yes.
You see, the lodging of the zero FIR took some time, right? But that was done by a citizen who must have been obviously very scared at what has been happening. So one can't really blame the citizen for going to the police station a little late. I mean, you can't expect the person to just stop doing everything and run to the police station. But what is disconcerting is that after the zero FIR was filed on the 18th of May, what were the police doing for more than a month? It got transferred to the jurisdictional police station on 21st of June. That's more than a month, right? There's no explanation for that. What happened after 21st of June? No explanation, right? No investigation seems to have been carried out until the video surfaced. Okay, so I think, apart from the police being lethargic, I will not be surprised if they're complicit in all this. So really, and then what's happening after that? They say, okay, we've arrested 4 people, we've arrested 5 people. Couldn't they have done that earlier?
Yeah.
I mean, this thing has been going on and on and on. And when is it going to end?
Yeah.
That's the issue I think that we have to address. Now, how is it going to end? It's going to end unless you know the facts. Today, the facts are not even coming out. Okay, we know 6,000 FIRs have been filed. We know that many of them are against women or assaults on women. What about the others? Damage to property. More than 50,000 people have been rendered homeless, right? Their property destroyed. More than 150 people have been killed. There are thousands of, paramilitary forces over there. Police is over there. What are the facts of the events of the last 3 months? Why are we not being told about this?
Yeah. Justice Lokur, another couple of comments by the Supreme Court. Merely entrusting the CBI or an SIT is not enough. We must ensure that justice goes to the survivor's doorstep And they proposed yesterday that there should be a committee of women judges. It was a suggestion. The committee should get assistance from civil society. I think the second comment, must ensure that justice goes to the survivor's doorstep, is very important. Because now that the Supreme Court has made it clear that there was not enough action and there must be action now, it's important to understand that those who are rape victims or are victims of abuse in the horror that we have seen cannot necessarily approach a police station and say, here, now file my FIR and my complaint. This is a situation that needs incredible subtlety and an ability to actually reach out to survivors. That's not easy to do.
Yes. You see, I think referring the matter to the CBI or to an SIT, which is under the police, is not really going to help. In the sense that if the police in Manipur is complicit, which I think it is, the CBI is not going to look into it dispassionately, right? Nor is an SIT of the Manipur police going to look into it dispassionately. You will remember that sometime back, maybe a year or so ago, there was a fake encounter in Hyderabad and some 4 or 5 people were killed. What did the Supreme Court do? They said, we are going to appoint an independent committee with a retired Supreme Court judge as the chairperson of that committee. They did not say that, why is the CBI not looking into it? Why is there no SIT and so on and so forth? So really, I think a completely independent investigating agency consisting of eminent citizens, some kind of a committee will have to look into the issue and tell us what are the facts. Because obviously, the Manipur government is not telling us the facts. Now, how are those facts going to come out? It can only be done by an independent body, right? So I think that's imperative.
Justice Lokur, one final question to you. In Manipur, members of one community are settled in one area, entirely separate from members of the other community who have moved in elsewhere. When we talk about integration, there is zero right now in Manipur. So in terms of bringing two communities together, when there is such intense animosity, what do you suggest is the way forward?
Well, first of all, both the communities, in fact, even a third community.
Yes.
They've been living peacefully for a very, very long time, right? So there has been some kind of a breakdown in relationships between these communities. Why has that happened? It's not something that happened overnight. Okay. It must have happened some time back. Why has it happened? What was done to redress the grievances of the communities when, things began getting heated up? So I think we have to get to the bottom of it. You can't just, have some kind of a cosmetic solution and say, well, things are okay now. We'll see when the time comes. You have to get to the bottom of it and resolve the grievances of the people. It can't be, that you have some kind of an ad hoc solution or some kind of a paper solution or something and say, well, now things are back to normal. It's not like that. Like you said, it's really deep rooted at the moment. But I'm sure if there is constructive dialogue, if there is an understanding of the problems of the people, I'm sure a solution can be found. It may take time, but the effort has to be made.
As a first step, do you believe the replacement of the Chief Minister or President's rule in the state is necessarily the way forward?
Well, yes, I think, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that the existing state government has not been able to handle the situation, right? So what is the solution? The solution is that either you let the situation continue as it is. I don't think anybody wants that. Or you try to improve the situation. How do you improve the situation? You improve the situation either by strengthening civil society, strengthening the law and order situation, improving the situation over there, or you remove the chief minister and have somebody else over there. It could be another person as the chief minister. It could be president's rule. There are so many options, but it appears they're not being explored. Right? That is part of the problem. It's not that, there's only one solution. There are many of them. But the idea is to explore those options, discuss them, and then arrive at the right solution.
All right, Justice Lokur, thank you very much for speaking to us. Always words of wisdom from you. In a situation as delicate as this, there needs to be a way out, and we can't wait indefinitely. It's a part of our country that is suffering. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Joining us at this stage, Supriya Shrinate of the Congress Party, Dr. Ajay Alok of the BJP. We're also joined by Amod Kant, the former Director General of Arunachal Pradesh. He served extensively in the Northeast. Hoinu Hozel, a senior journalist from Manipur. Bina Lakshmi Nepram joins us as well. Dr. Ajay Alok, you heard a former judge of the Supreme Court over there, a voice of reason, completely dispassionate and not associated with the present situation. You've read and heard what the Supreme Court has had to say today. What do you believe, sir, at this stage are the next steps required to try and start fixing the problem?
See, that's what we are doing. We are trying to fix the problem because we know that as the investigation will go on, we'll continue to find our own mistakes. There's no doubt about it, to which the Supreme Court pointed today in various aspects about not filing FIR, not making proper arrest, delaying. But we have to understand the basic crux of the problem that right now there's a deep mistrust between the communities. There's no element of trust. Right now we are trying to just maintain the normalcy and get back to the peace process. And right now there is a lot of security force deployment, and because of security force deployment, you can say that there's peace prevailing right now. Because a single ignition can ignite everything again, and it can lead to burning of Manipur again. So we are treading very cautiously. At the moment, the center through its advisors and Home Minister directly, they are talking to both the communities for the confidence building measures. And in democracy or in any setup, you can only have solutions through talkings. And to keep the force and to maintain the peace and security is not the solution. The solution is that the community who have lived together in spite of their differences should sit on the table, just figure out the differences and let the things go. And everything has to be done in the constitutional framework. So right now, what the government's priority right now is setting apart the politics, just iron out the differences between the two communities, take the help of the third community also, engage them in talks, maintain law and order, maintain normalcy, and just look out for those miscreants who are in a position to create some disturbances.
Dr. Ajay Alok, when the justice over there, Justice Lokur, I think the most hard-hitting part of what he said is when he said that the police were complicit. So therefore, if you're talking about maintaining law and order on the ground, is this not something that needs to be looked at as well? Because it's been established by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court how FIRs were not filed on time. And here is a former judge saying that how can this happen if the police weren't complicit?
I don't like to make a comment on what Chief Justice of India has to say about it. The investigation are the part of the process, and all the investigations are to be presented in front of him. And he's in a full right to give the comments and to pass on the judgment. So I'm the one to comment on his comments. Number one. Number two, as a government, I'll just say that I don't want to make a political commentary. Initially, 2-3 days, we all have been saying that yes, the government, the local state government didn't anticipate this kind of a retaliatory movement within the communities, and it just took 2 to 3 days. And definitely the administration and the police, both were divided for some time in terms of community lines. So it becomes more difficult. So by the time 6th or 7th, when the central paramilitary forces arrived, then we started having things in control. And touch wood, from the last 18th July, things are moving towards better.
Okay. Supriya, we could easily get into another political sort of match over here. But I would urge you to just, on the basis of several of your colleagues having gone there, seen the situation, being aware of what the Chief Justice has said, others have said, what constructively do you believe needs to be done now?
So, this is not a mudslinging match, but something very troublesome was just said by the BJP spokesperson, that the administration and police were divided along community lines. Now, if that's an excuse that the government makes for the complete breakdown of law and order, then may I dare say we are staring at a very, very grim possibility of law and order prevailing anywhere in the country. Because India is an extremely diverse country with extremely diverse communities. The reality, Vishnu, is, and I will go back to what the Supreme Court says, the complicity of the police. And who does the police report to? The Chief Minister. Without saying in so many words, there is no faith that the Supreme Court of India is showing in the Chief Minister. Why does he continue to be in office? Now the BJP will turn around and tell you, there's no other alternative. Well, the Constitution has given an alternative, which is to impose President's rule, which is to impose central rule. Why is that not happening? The people do not have faith. The police is complicit, the Supreme Court is showing no faith, and yet this man continues. I will make a very, very brief point, and that brief point is not just about these two women who approached the Supreme Court or the horrific video that we saw. Actually, the horrific video made the entire country sit up and take notice. The horrific video forced the Prime Minister to break his silence that went on for 78 days. That horrific video made the NCW wake up. The horrific video at least made the first arrest, because these women were facing that horrifying circumstances for the last 78 days. An FIR had been registered and no arrest was made. So thank God for that horrific video. At least people realized what was happening in Manipur, and people could wake up to the horrifying visuals that women, men and children are living through. 60,000 people in relief camps, and we are discussing this as if nothing has really happened and everything is getting back to hunky-dory and being normal. And I will just make one last comment. The elected Prime Minister of this country has a moral authority. The elected Prime Minister of this country has a moral deliverance to Manipur. And that is to speak on the matter. What is Parliament for? Why are you shying away from a parliamentary discussion? We should all get together and tell Manipur that we will stand with them. You are telling me Manipur, that has been in the fist of an storm, which has been burning for the last 3 months, we can only spare 2.5 hours under Rule 176. We are not fighting over rules.
Okay, Supriya, you made 2 or 3 points. Ajay wants to respond, then I'll go across to my other panelists. Ajay, quickly, before I go across to the others.
You asked her, my Congress spokesperson, that what constructive solution you have. See the kind of constructive solutions he has. She has the same kind of stubbornness what they are showing in the parliament when we say discuss Manipur, but they just take the pretext of one rule or the other. I'm not here for the political commentary, madam. When I said that the administration and the local administration and the police were also divided in the community lines for initial 1 or 2 days, it is true. And this is not a grim situation that the whole country is looking at. You have to dwell into the depth of the things, that what led to all this. What is the genesis for all these things? For that, what we wanted you to discuss with us in the parliament, which you conveniently ran away. I don't want to get into political mudslinging anymore. Let's find the solution. We can have time for politics whole life. Let's think about Manipur. So please come and discuss this thing in the parliament instead of doing it on the TV debate.
Vishnu, can I make a very brief point, please? Just a 10-second point.
Supriya, if you don't mind, can I just go to my other panelists? Supriya, I'll try and come back to you. I promise I will try and come back to you. It's just fair that, they've been waiting. Beena Lakshmi, it's an important statement from the BJP spokesperson that in the initial phases, the police and the administration were divided along certain community lines, right? Is it not this recognition and this realization which could be an important first step towards sorting out the issue?
This and more, Vishnu. With respect to other fellow panelists who have said, let me give 2 facts. One, I was in Delhi when in 2014, a series of violent attacks happened on people of Northeast of origin. Nido Tanya died in 2014, Rengamfi rape case. So many cases happened in Delhi. This was 2014. 2024 is Indian general elections. This game of politics, which is played on the lives of women's bodies, on the lives of people of Manipur or Northeast, is the reason behind what is happening. And of course, there is divisions engineered, which ensured that 2 communities which have never fought in our history are now made to perceive that we are no longer on terms which can be reconciled. This is what politics have created in my home state, my beautiful home state. Hoinu, who is here, and we studied in the same school. We grew up, we studied in the same university, IP College. So to say that two communities have been loving, this is for us an engineered conflict. But let me come to the focus of the solutions, because it's been 3 months. We have been appearing in these debates with absolutely as if 1.3 billion Indians have no solutions to what is happening on 3.3 million people in Manipur. First, committee of ex-judges that the Supreme Court has said must be constituted. I also really are with that a committee of women judges must be appointed. In fact, the Northeast Women Initiative for Peace have asked for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to ensure that there are 3 committees formed, and one of the committees is to look into the legal issues of these violent crimes against women, which has happened, which has really shocked the consciousness of each one of us, and which we strongly condemn it. And we ensure that whoever has done this must be brought to book. What is also very, very critical is the question of President's rule. You know what? It has become an irony that the governor of Manipur is a woman. The president of our country is a woman, and a tribal woman, which we are proud of. Then how come? But then if president rules is critical, the way in which this country is run, unfortunately, is in a way that it's controlled by a few. And they are not taking the lack of women in decision-making. In 17 peace talks in India's Northeast, not a single woman in it. We have a president and a governor which are women. Yet decision seems to be taken somewhere. For us, 2024 elections is a shadow behind everyone is hiding. But when you do this politics, do not do necropolitics, which ensured that our societies are divided, our state is being divided, our people are divided. This necropolitics done by India's national political parties, cahoots with 60 armed insurgent groups. We have not even spoken about how this is a national security issue. I have been conducting research for 20 years in this particular region of our world, and we have seen how there are external forces who would be taking advantage. The balkanization of Manipur may lead to the balkanization of the northeast of India. This is a very serious issue which judges, politicians, and like-minded people must now ensure that we come together to resolve. So we are also asking, if Indian government cannot resolve, then we must take the issue up to the international court. If the Indian administration is not able to develop, then we will call upon an international tribunal which will look into cases of crimes against humanity, crimes against women on the bodies of women of Manipur and the northeast of India.
Meena, that doesn't happen. I think in light of what the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court has said, I think it is important for us to, take strength from our constitution, from our legal system. It may take time, but let's keep this as an Indian problem and an Indian solution which needs to emerge. But let me just go across to Mr. Amod Kant. Sir, you've served in the Northeast as well. Are there not checks and balances within the police and the administration to prevent recruitment or loyalties along community lines, which is what might just have happened with the police force in Manipur?
Vishnu, in fact, I've been very carefully listening to Justice Lokur, and I've also gone through the decisions, not so far, but then yes, the indications of decisions being taken by Honorable Supreme Court of India. You are correct that there should be certain kind of prior understanding when recruitments take place. But is it only an issue of recruitment? I mean, that might be there. I have no idea that what percentage of two communities representation is there in Manipur police force. But the fact remains that none of the discussions so far, nor the Honorable Supreme Court, have indicated any solution. See, the situation is on the ground. I mean, let us say that a study is carried out, or maybe judicial inquiry is carried out. Judges come down and they speak something, because that's not going to give a solution. The police on the ground has to find the solution. Honorable Supreme Court have given indication that CBI can't investigate, that local police can't investigate. Then who is going to investigate? These 6,000 cases in hand, number one. Secondly, the main case, which is the subject matter of national debate also, I think somebody has to investigate. See, I have worked in CBI, let me inform you. I investigated Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. I worked in Northeast Mizoram in a very difficult time. I have worked as DGP of Arunachal Pradesh. I have seen November 84 acts and certain different kind of things being done through us. The point I am trying to make that the most important point today is to build confidence in the police. Whatever they might have done, it's very clear that in this particular case of gang rape and murder, if the police handed over those survivors to the other people and they gang raped her in presence of police or whatever, I think that's the worst kind of crime the police have committed. Justice Lokur is absolutely correct that it was an act of complicity. If it is an act of complicity, the investigation has to be carried out against police also. The police officers present in that kind of situation, if they handed over these two girls to them, then I think action has to be taken against them, but that will go on. The most important urgent issue is that the Honorable Supreme Court and all concerned should create a team of officers, a team of police officers, investigators who are able to investigate these cases, let's say dispassionately. I think the police will do it. I have no idea that how independent the present DGP could be. But if there is a requirement, why not get somebody like KPS Gill? Why not get someone like Ribeiro? Why not get some other people who can police the state much better? Or maybe from inside they can find somebody who can hold his own and then, of course, investigate the cases which are there. Law and order is a very difficult situation, let me clarify. I have been through law and order situations in many parts of the country. And let me inform you that a time comes when everything appears to be collapsing. And it happened in Delhi, as you know, yes. The time I'm talking about. So in Manipur today, it appears that the entire machinery of law and order, which has the complete support of army also, they are not able to control. But then are we going to leave it like this? Or are we going to make things happen where even the political decisions are taken, they are able to do something? Maybe president's rule, if it is required, let it be done. Maybe some very strong kind of people are brought to Manipur and as advisors, as police officers, as let's say even leaders, they could come and take charge of the situation because it's very, very extraordinary situation. Sure. And something very different has to be done. I think one point I would like to make that a complete rejection of the police, a complete rejection of, let's say, those people who are controlling the government or the police machinery is not a wise thing to happen. We have to create faith in them. We have to create that kind of leadership who would be able to investigate cases properly. 6,000 cases. There's no beginning or end to it.
This might just be the beginning. And Hoinu, as a senior journalist yourself, the true horror of what has happened in Manipur in the last couple of months is only coming to light now. It's much more than that one horrific incident that we keep talking about. There are any number of people who are missing. There are any number of bodies which are in morgues which have not returned to their families. And there are any number of violence which has not been accounted for at all. So this, some would suggest, is just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Thank you, Vishnu, for having me. I just want to read out a very powerful line which came to light today. A lot has been lost, but not everything has been lost. Our idea is ultimately that we restore the faith of the community in the rule of law and the constitutional process. That's the message we need to send out. This powerful line from the court, I think it sort of ignites new hope. And it's a very positive step by the Supreme Court, being the apex court of the Indian Constitution, ensuring that the law made by the Supreme Court is binding on all the lower courts. And the court, by not merely questioning the state government on its failure to act, has set a precedent for the state of Manipur, which through its very, very sharp observation to act has set a precedent to expose or bring to light the partisan attitude of the state. And Vishnu, I am hoping that justice is ensured.
Yes.
Justice is ensured, there would be deliverance of justice. And I'm hoping that this very, very powerful statement is also the genesis of hope. And also, it is remarkable for the court to make a note that a mechanism needs to be devised to prevent the crime against women. And I'm hoping that every other case that have been, brushed aside also comes to light. And we have figured out the problems, and I have been a part of many discussions. I think now the way forward is, as the former speakers have spoken before me, is to really find a permanent solution, not an ad hoc solution, a more lasting solution, which would take into account what is it the people are now yearning for.
No, I agree completely, Hoinu. There has to be a lasting solution.
There has to be a lasting solution. And I think at the back of our mind, we know what is that. There has to be a political solution. And therefore, we need to know the modalities. What is it that is required? And we cannot be debating night after night what needs to be done. And I think that the government pretty much knows what it is
that needs to be done.
Yeah.
I'm only interrupting you because I am, Hoinu, out of time on this. But thank you, all of you, for your suggestions and recognition that we now need solutions. We can't wait anymore. It comes on the back of what the Supreme Court has said. There'll be many more hearings, and we'll be tracking those closely. But next up on the show, the ripples from yesterday's 18-hour communal clash in Haryana's Nuh. The violence has now spread to the Gurgaon area, not too far away from the national capital. That's up next. Well, next up on Left, Right and Centre, the ripples from yesterday's 18-hour communal clash in Haryana's Nuh, which claimed 5 lives and left at least 70 people injured. That's reached Badshahpur, 50 kilometers away. Shops and eateries were vandalized and torched by a mob this evening amidst religious chants. Eyewitnesses said a mob of around 200 had entered the area around 3 p.m. armed with sticks and stones. They vandalized several shops, including several meat shops. They set fire to an eatery. No one was injured. Violence broke out during a religious procession yesterday in Nuh, just 50 kilometers away from Delhi. Let's bring you ground reports of the situation in the greater Gurugram area.
Arson, firing, vandalism and violence continued for almost 18 hours in Haryana's Nuh and the Sona area of Gurugram, which is just 50 kilometers from Delhi. This after stone pelting at a VHP Yatra in Nuh. From there, the violence spread to other parts. Shops were burnt and vehicles were torched at several places. Rioters rammed a bus into the cyber police station in Nuh and burnt several vehicles parked there. The situation was brought under control after paramilitary forces arrived late at night. According to estimates, more than 100 vehicles were set on fire by the rioters. 44 FIRs have been registered so far and more than 70 people have been arrested.
निश्चित रूप से एक बड़े षड्यंत्र का कहीं न कहीं हिस्सा लगता है। सब जिलों में शांति स्थापित इस समय की गई है। छानबीन के बाद जो भी दोषी लोग होंगे उनके खिलाफ सख्त कार्रवाई की जाएगी। किसी भी उपद्रवी को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा।
Late on Monday night, a mosque was attacked and one person was killed there.
We have already arrested 5 people following raids throughout the night.
After relative calm in the morning, fresh violence was reported from Badshahpur in Gurugram, where meat shops and non-veg restaurants were burnt and attacked by mobs chanting religious slogans.
The glass of this restaurant has been completely broken. You can see it's absolutely shocking. We'll show you how bad the situation is. Even here you can see that as this used to be a restaurant, there are some chairs there inside. My camera person Joseph is going to show you. There are chairs for customers and there's glass all over. That's all you can see because this shop was also vandalized by a mob of around 200 people. Extremely concerning situation that we are seeing, a tense situation that we are seeing here in Haryana's Gurugram. A small cooler that has also been damaged along with all the glass here. The boards have been damaged. Whatever glass there used to be, there's glass all over the floor as well. And everything has been vandalized in this small little restaurant in Gurugram's Badshahpur. More and more such incidents now coming up of specific targeted attacks on shops by a mob of close to 100 to 200 people and in some cases even more. Even after the police had imposed Section 144 and assured that there are no fresh cases of violence, even then these cases of vandalism are being seen in Haryana's Gurugram.
So the question is, what led to this large-scale violence? This man is Monu Manesar, who released a video on July 30 declaring that he will attend the Yatra in Nu and urged people to come. Monu is wanted in the murder of two young men from Rajasthan's Bharatpur, Junaid and Nasir, and has been on the run since February. Junaid and Nasir were beaten to death allegedly by Monu and his accomplices and burnt alive in their own car. Statements from Monu and other right-wing activists such as Bittu Bajrangi and rumors of Monu coming to the Yatra led to the unrest.
प्रशासन की ये जिम्मेवारी बनती थी कि इन चीज़ों को जब हमने और लोगों ने भी अखबारों में भी सब चीज़ आई थी कि हालात जो है तनावपूर्ण हो रहे हैं, हम समझते हैं अगर सही वक्त पे सही कदम उठाए जाते प्रशासनिक तो इस तरीके की जो ये टकराव बना, जो ये यहाँ नूह में आके एक अफवाह और छोड़ दी गई या क्या है किसी चीज़ के लिए कि मोनू मानेसर यहाँ आ गया है, उससे ये स्थिति जो है ये जो उत्पन्न हुई उसमें हमें बड़ा दुख है इस बात का कि हमारा इलाका कलंकित हुआ है.
The administration has also admitted that the violence was triggered by Monu Manesar's statement and rumors of his arrival.
नो डाउट अगर हम सोशल मीडिया को मॉनिटरिंग कर रहे हैं, लेकिन जिला पुलिस ने उसके हिसाब से तैयारियां भी कर रखी थी और ऐसी उम्मीद नहीं थी कि इतना बड़ा हिंसा हो सकती है. तैयारियां करी गई थी, नो डाउट कुछ कमियां रही हैं, उसी वजह से हिंसा हुई है.
This is right across the high-rise buildings of Gurugram city. There's a high-rise building right opposite to where I'm standing, and right on the other side you are seeing these shops that have been burnt in the communal violence that has been going on. That started in Nu, but that has been spreading in Gurugram as well. The police officials told us that there's no major violence that has been reported today. They told us that majorly the violence got over yesterday when a mosque was also torched, burnt last night. But we are clearly seeing that the violence is continuing even today in several parts of Gurugram as well.
The irony is that neither Monu Manesar nor Bittu Bajrangi came to attend the procession, but rumors of their arrival has left 5 killed and 70 injured. With Saurabh Shukla, Sushil Rathi and Priyanshi Sharma, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Well, joining us now, Yashwardhan Azad, a former special director at the IB. Veena Gupta is a social activist and a resident of Gurgaon. Thank you very much for being with us. Mr. Azad, let me come to you first. Do you not believe that it's bizarre that Monu Manesar has to release a video and after that the police don't take enough action in terms of having presence, knowing fully well the impact that a video like this might make?
Well, Monu Pahalwan is wanted in that double murder case, and he should have immediately been picked up and sent to Rajasthan. I mean, that is exactly what the police should have done immediately at that particular point of time. And especially that it would fan flames of communal passion. That was another reason to hold him immediately. Unfortunately, this wasn't done. But the next day, even if you knew that this kind of a rumor was going on, it would have a kind of a reaction. And therefore, it's extremely essential that the entire team should have been there. Absolutely, even if shooting was required, you couldn't allow this kind of thing which had happened over there. Nobody has a right to also throw stones at a procession. But if the procession is adopting threatening postures, then obviously you have to take action immediately. Look at what that brave officer Prabhakar did in Bareilly, for example. Mm-hmm. When that Julus was passing the mosque and they were threatening postures, he immediately lathi charged and cleared. So I think it's a problem with the district administration. It just did not do anything. And once this kind of a communal incident happens, if you don't nip it in the bud, the reactions go on. And that is what we are seeing in the kind of cyclical violence which is taking place. And even it has engulfed Gurgaon and Sona and all these places. Absolutely unfortunate and could have been avoided.
Mr. Azad, is that your fear that this isn't the end of it?
No, this is not the end of it because if a religious place is burned, you will have a reaction. If one community shops have been burnt, and I have been only in the communal districts of Madhya Pradesh, whether it's Bhopal, it's Mandsaur, it's Jabalpur, and all that, I have seen this cycle. You have to be very, very tough at the initial. You cannot allow anyone to go berserk. As it is, Vishnu, I am not in favor of too many processions going on, almost, with monotonous regularity, on and on. I mean, this can't go on. Country has to move ahead. So if you're having something like this, allowing this is like a tinderbox. And once you know that there is a kind of a rumor floating, and it is coming from an arch criminal, a criminal who's wanted in 2 cases, how can you allow it from any community or from anywhere? I mean, I know throwing stones at the procession is wrong, but then you should have taken preventive action to arrest this guy and tell those guys that, now if you throw stones, we are going to take the hell of an action against you too. So what it means is a fair, even-handed administrative action, which, of course, I mean, it's tragic to see 100 vehicles burned. It's tragic to see, the shops being burned. It's horrible. I mean, I find it so distasteful in modern India that in 2023 we are going back to 1890s.
No, it is shocking indeed. Veena, what has the impact been where you are? Is it your worry that in parts of Gurgaon, some of the most developed parts in the National Capital Region, educational institutes have been shut, internet access was difficult earlier on, that any number of people would continue to suffer for the time being?
Yeah, because the area where I live, which is Sector 57, which is very close to my house and my office itself. So basically the community, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Am I audible? All
yes.
Right. So the office area of mine where I live, this is just, I think, 100 meters away where this thing happened, like, the mosque and the temple has been affected. So entire office has been disturbed. My staff has not been come at the office. So I think the fear factor for us is that, mostly the female staff, and then of course the entire office staffs, and then disturbance where within the city and within the, the area where we commute every day. So I think the staff has not come for work, and then day-to-day task has been disturbed. So it's a fear factor that, anything can happen. And it's a civil unrest which really leaves us in a fear factor that what's going to be next. So I feel it's a really very sad situation, and it could have been stopped. Knowing that social media, it's very, very powerful when there's a small video, small thing or statement has been viral. So I think we should have taken some good measure, or some precautions before this could happen.
Well, I'd like to thank you both very much for joining us and sharing those thoughts. And I think it is time to look a little more closely at the role of social media, because as the police investigate the Noor riots and political leaders have called it a conspiracy, what role did social media play in leading up to the violence? We have this report.
Now, we know that social media played a big role in triggering the communal clashes in the Noor district of Haryana that erupted on Tuesday evening. Now, the whole story really began on Sunday, a day before the clashes, when a Bajrang Dal member called Monu Manesar posted a video to his Instagram account declaring that he would be taking part in the VHP Yatra in Noor, and also asked people to turn out in big numbers. Now, let's recap on who Monu Manesar actually is. He's the head of the Bajrang Dal in Haryana and a leader of the notorious Gau Rakshak Dal in Mewat. He's also the main accused in the murder of 2 Muslim cattle traders, Junaid and Nasir, last year. Their bodies were found charred in their car, and ever since he's been declared as absconding, although he regularly posts videos of cow vigilantism on his social media. Remember, he's also denied involvement in these murders. Let's also keep in mind that the Noor district is the only Muslim majority district in Haryana and has the highest proportion of Muslims outside Kashmir in North India. So understandably, Monu Manesar's video created quite a stir on social media. It prompted the Muslim community members to post comments challenging Manesar to actually show up to the yatra and threatened to attack him if he did. Now, of course, what we know is that Monu Manesar ultimately did not end up attending the yatra, and he cited advice from the VHP that his presence would only trigger violence, but it seems that just his post was enough to create tension there. In fact, the new MLA Aftab Ahmed spoke to my colleague Saurabh Shukla, saying that if the police had reacted to the tension building on social media, then the clashes would perhaps not even have happened.
प्रशासन की ये जिम्मेवारी बनती थी कि इन चीज़ों को जब हमने और लोगों ने भी अखबारों में भी सब चीज़ आई थी कि हालात जो है तनावपूर्ण हो रहे हैं। उस चीज
आपने
को
बताया था जाकर के प्रशासन को कि 3 दिन पहले की
बिल्कुल हमने बिल्कुल एक दिन पहले जो है ये बताया था कि आप इस बात के, कि हमें भी पता है इस बात का, लेकिन हम इस करेंगे। लेकिन हम समझते हैं अगर सही वक्त पे सही कदम उठाए जाते प्रशासन, तो इस तरीके की जो ये टकराव बना, जो ये यहाँ नूह में आके एक अफवाह और छोड़ दी गई या क्या है किसी चीज़ के लिए कि मोनू मानेसर यहाँ आ गया है, उससे ये स्थिति जो है ये जो उत्पन्न हुई, उसमें हमें बड़ा दुख है इस बात का कि हमारा इलाका कलंकित हुआ है।
That leads us to the question, why did the police not take cognizance of what was unfolding on social media? Why has Monu Manesar not been found and arrested yet? And why did the police not anticipate communal tension in a sensitive area? These questions remain unanswered. Nayantara Singh for NDTV.